Ladies and gentlemen, between 1879 and 1916, 42 ships made a total of 87 voyages carrying British Indian indentured laborers to Fiji, oftentimes lured away from their homes with false promises. And these Girmitiyas endured the grueling journey from India, and they suffered demeaning treatment from their overseers, and they slaved away under violent, repressive work conditions. And due to the high cost of returning to British India, many of them had no choice but to stay. And in the face of such misery, while it would be easy to abandon hope and give in to despair, instead they persevered. Ladies and gentlemen, the Girmitiyas' contribution to this nation began the very day that they set foot in Fiji, building roads, clearing land, and harvesting sugarcane. And the success of Fiji's colonial economy depended heavily on their sweat and their effort and their talents. Here in Sigatoka, it is wonderful to see so many Fijians here to commemorate this important event. And as we all know, the history of Girmitiyas is also the history of Sigatoka. Some of the Girmit of the Sutlej Five are with us today in Sigatoka, and I'm delighted to bring you the greetings of every Fijian. And as you know, Sigatoka was a home to many Girmitiyas as they cleared land and worked sugarcane fields, starting at Kabanangasau up in the hills. And in those days, no land transport and no Sigatoka bridge. All travel was done by barge or bilimbili up and down the Sigatoka River. The Girmitiyas not only cleared the land to establish sugarcane fields, but built the tram line from the Latoka mill down to Kabanangasau. So they played a major role in developing some of the infrastructure that is still used today. In villages, towns, and cities all across Fiji, we can still see the stories of the Girmitiyas all around us. And those stories are a part of the story of Fiji. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, these celebrations are being held nationwide in recognition of the nationwide impact that the Girmitiyas have had on our country. The accounts recorded by the Girmitiyas in Fiji tell us much about their suffering, but words alone can never fully capture the emotion and the pain that they experienced. So much of what makes our lives fulfilling and enjoyable is found in our relationships, our families, our friends, and our communities. And to lose that, to be forced to live and work in isolation, would cause any one of us untold suffering. Transplanted far from home in a foreign land, ripped away from their families and lives that they knew, the Girmitiyas often drew strength from the hope that things would get better. Maybe not for them, but for future generations. And at first, no access to education, but still, they knew that education and that knowledge was the best path to a better life. That commitment to education has not faltered since those early days. Girmitiyas and their descendants have had a major role in helping create a more knowledge-based society in Fiji. Every day they work, their values and their sacrifices have helped build a new modern Fiji and bring advancement into the lives of every Fijian, so that we are all prepared for whatever challenges and opportunities the future holds. Ladies and gentlemen, we must all never forget that while the practice of indenture ended many years ago, that feeling of alienation felt by Fijians of Girmitiya descent persisted for decades. It took 97 years from the arrival of that last ship for the descendants of the Girmitiyas to be called Fijians and to truly become a part of our nation and participate fully in our national life. When this government in 2013 declared us all Fijians equal and united as one nation and one people, It was a realization of the hopes and the dreams of hundreds of thousands of direct descendants of the Girmitiyas. While many of your ancestors had never heard of Fiji prior to their arrival, in that moment, this nation truly became your home, and it will remain so for all time. The journey has been long, too long, and not without difficulty. But here we all stand more united than ever before and all committed to taking Fiji into the future. It is not the duty of any one community to remember the sacrifices and suffering that led up to this commemoration. We must all remember, we must all reflect, and we must all uphold the legacy of the Girmitiyas. In the same way they strove to build better lives for their descendants, we must strive to leave behind a nation that is better than that we inherited. I'd also like to echo the announcement by His Excellency the President in his statement at the commemoration held in Suva earlier this week. In 2020, for the 100-year anniversary of the end of the indenture system, we will be holding special commemorations throughout Fiji to mark the end of the indenture era. My fellow Fijians, it is an emotional day for all of us, and we remember past trauma and look back on our history. But it is also a day for celebration of how far we have come. Let us all today give thanks for the Girmitiyas and their descendants, and let us all try and live up to the example of perseverance and determination that they displayed despite trying circumstances. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Banaka Vakalevu, Tanya Baden, thank you very much.
बच्चों को लेकर आई थी जिसके पूर्वज आज हमारे पीछे हैं। और आप जानते होंगे कि जितने
April 100 हुई है, April 14
चलो ना 108 के वो है नाली